Well, 50 years. Um, that's an amazing time.
Yeah.
In 1961, Leo Updike and Dean Obrecht released the first issue of World War I Airplanes, a two-page ditto newsletter that was created to unite people sharing the common interest of World War I aviation. Now, 50 years later, we are pleased to present Leo telling the story of the birth and evolution of the organization and the publication that brought countless World War I aviation enthusiasts and experts from around the world together in the days before the internet. The genesis of World War I Airplanes Incorporated in the late 1950s and early 1960s coincided with and undoubtedly helped to foster a booming interest in the field of World War I aircraft restorations. This was the period when people like Cole Palin and Frank Tallman started locating, collecting, restoring, and flying examples of these rare aircraft, and others like Jim Appleby, Ed Brennan, Peter Bowers, and Carl Swanson started building flying reproductions of machines that hadn't been seen in the air since the days of the Great War. These men and others like them were the pioneers of the second coming of the flying machines of the Great War, without the war, of course. The initial goal of World War I airplanes was to bring these collectors and enthusiasts together to keep them informed of who was building and restoring what and where it was happening. It was also a wants and disposals list of early aviation items being offered for sale or trade. If you wanted to buy a Hispano Suiza, a Lerone, or Gnome Rotary, World War I Aero was where you would likely be able to find one, or maybe even a few. Likewise, if you wanted to find a piece of information relating to World War I aviation, World War I Aero was the place to run your ads seeking that information, as nearly every expert around the world in this focused field of early aeronautics was a member. As time went on, the publication grew to a nearly 150-page quarterly journal, and regular features developed along the way. Contributors from around the globe brought their combined knowledge and talents to the table for all to share, learn from, and enjoy. The doors were open to modelers, artists, authors, filmmakers, and anyone wanting to be kept in the loop of what was happening in the World War I airplane world. 50 years of generosity by enthusiasts around the world who shared drawings, manuals, and other archival material has grown to an archive that is unique in its breadth of coverage and also contains some material available nowhere else. World War I Airplanes Incorporated continues in its mission to be responsible stewards of the archives and its commitment toward making research materials accessible to the community of enthusiasts. Today, this 501c3 organization is working to continue to produce World War I Aero, along with its sister publication Skyways, the Journal of the Airplane 1920 to 1940, which will celebrate its landmark 100th issue next year. Additionally, World War I Airplanes Incorporated is working to make all of its back issues of World War I Aero and Skyways available via the internet as PDF downloads for historians, researchers, and early aviation enthusiasts to learn from and enjoy well into the future. For those who have enjoyed and supported World War I Airplanes Incorporated, we thank you. And for those who are just becoming aware of our organization, we hope that you will enjoy the issues as much as we have.
Okay, so what do we talk about?
Well, I think we would start off with, I guess as far back as you can remember, when the first concept of the World War I Club or World War I Aero came to be, and how that came to be. I mean, as a young boy, were you building model airplanes and had the interest like we all did?
Yeah, I was doing airplanes, And I got involved with G8 and its battle aces. Do you remember that?
Just through Cole Palin's collection, yes.
I have 4 of them bound at home. I learned German that way, actually. And I remember sitting on a tree that had fallen down in the 38 hurricane in Boston, reading one of them. Sitting on the tree. There was the city in desolation all around me. And that really got me into the World War I period, those magazines. They were a lot of fun.
When did you talk to other people, or when did you meet somebody that expressed interest in maybe building a World War I airplane, or how did it come about that somebody was looking for information and you thought maybe we can track some down for them?
Well, it really was Dean Obrecht. I was taking a degree in linguistics at the University of Rochester, and this guy was in the department, and I don't know how I got to meet him exactly. He was there, and I did meet him, and he must have said something about, he was building an SE-5, full size, and you asked, or somebody asked, what happened to it? Did he ever finish? I don't know, and I never saw it, but he claimed he was building it, and he was in correspondence with a lot of people. Some of the people on your list, some of whom were building and some of who were supplying, and I never heard of most of them. And I helped him put the list together because he was basically in correspondence with them. Now, one of the things you asked for here, or Sean asked for, is what was a high point for me in this whole 50 years. And in a way, the high point was the correspondence, which was enormous. Beverly was doing 10 letters a day out, and that meant about that many in. So it was very heavy, and the mail was a big event during the day. And it was exciting to meet all these people, even secondhand, knowing that they were interested in some of the same things and interested in telling me what they were doing. And I was interested in helping Dean put this list together, and the list got bigger and more complicated. And at some point, whether his term was up or whether he was tired of it or something, he said he wasn't going to do it anymore. And I had to think whether I was going to do it anymore. And because there was so much enthusiasm for it, and the income, the input was so great, that I said, okay, I'll go on doing it. And so that was 1965 or 6 probably. And it was put together practically with safety pins before that, and it continued that way.
Did it start out initially as people looking for drawings and plans more than anything, or was it always parts and pieces as well? Because I know in the wants and disposals, it's always run the gamut from full airplanes down to one piece of paperwork or one little drawing that people are looking for.
I think it was always like that. We have the first issues, or the first printings anyway, and I can look and see, but off the top of my head, I would say it was both. And sometimes it'd be books, and sometimes stuff that they had to sell, or they heard of this, does anybody know anything about this, or I'm trying to get a hold of Harry, anybody know Harry, that kind of thing. And it went all over the world.
Well, I noticed in the letter that you sent to the Antique Airplane Club, introducing the World War I Club, or what became World War I Aero, and you referred to literally every kind of person, the one that was building an airplane, the ones that were just thinking about it, some that just want to dream about it, and it always seemed like World War I Aero took in all of that.
Yeah, it did.
Whether you were building one and flying one, or you were just sitting there on your porch thinking, boy, it'd be nice to build a World War I airplane.
Yeah.
But nobody was ever turned away, and they were all encouraged, I think.
Pretty much. And of the things that happened in that period, I do remember thinking one day how great it would be to connect somebody who had something with somebody who wanted it, or the other way around. I mean, just that by itself. Where that was in relation to this article, I don't know, but it's the same idea. And Dean's list that I was helping him with clearly was moving in that direction. And they wanted that kind of help, and they kept sending this kind of request and list. So it seemed like an interesting thing to go on and pursue it.
Right, somebody's always looking, and hopefully somebody always has.
Yeah.
But putting those two together is not always the easiest portion. I think that's where you guys stepped in. And
it was fun. And one of the things that was rewarding about it was that people were quick. If they wanted it and you said something, then they'd get back to you. Not, I never heard from them again, or I asked for this and nobody told me, or stuff like that.
Do you think in the there was a more of a personal correspondence because it was handwritten letters and postcards, and people were a little bit more serious about it when they actually put the stamp on and sent it to somebody, and we're looking forward to hearing back
I think
from
there's
them?
a lot of truth in that, and the quickness too. And then people who would write you about this or that would frequently wind up telephoning you, or you telephone them. So then there'd be some kind of personal contact. And the thing I'm a little sorry about was, out of all that, I didn't get to meet all that many people. And sometimes in Tom's model show up there at Rhinebeck, people would come by and they know me and I didn't know them. And sometimes I didn't know the name or the face. And I felt bad because some of them had been in correspondence for a long time. It was a little bit remote, but it got much more personal as time went on. And the contact by mail and the contact by telephone was very rewarding.
In your phone conversations, did you find yourself having more and more lengthy phone conversations, but still enjoyable, and not somebody where you want to say, "Oh, I got to get this guy off the phone"?
That didn't happen very
because
much.
they were all so serious about it.
Yeah, they really were. And you could get talking about other kinds of things too. We'd be talking about this, they'd be talking about global warming, except there wasn't any then. There was a sense that there were real people out there that you could get hold of, and they would get hold of you and you'd share something. And I always felt that it was a shame that we couldn't get the other organizations to join that kind of interaction. Other publications, other organizations, agencies, but we never really got that kind of warmth. It's too bad.
I would say World War I era has to have probably the biggest personal touch in correspondence and phone calls then and still now. You know, nobody has ever turned away for, say, a silly question.
Yeah.
Which there are many of them out there too. But, in the early days, you were still working full-time in Rochester as teaching.
Yeah.
And this was something you were doing on the side in the evenings and weekends, or when as time allowed?
And I was using the school ditto machine. I bought the paper, but I used the machine. And I remember once, we used to mail the things in envelopes. At least one set of issues, they'd be folded in half this way, and they'd go into an envelope. And in the school barrel, I found a couple of big packages of blank envelopes that size. They didn't say the school's name on them, they were blank. And they were going to throw them away. So I took them and mailed out one of the issues in them, which brought me and the school close together in perfectly reasonable ways, I guess.
Recycling in the early days.
Absolutely, yeah. The whole business of dittoing was different from mimeographing, different from printing, different from home printing.
Early on, who was I know we all think that Leo Updike did this all himself in the early days. Were there anybody that was really instrumental in encouraging you and maybe offering some assistance on those early issues, or helping you with mailings and correspondence?
Well, all these people, including both of you, have been helpful and encouraging in terms of coming over and licking stamps and bending envelopes. I think I did pretty much all of that until the printer, whoever it was, it got so big that the printer did it themselves. But it took a while to get to that. I think by the time I got here, the printer was doing most of that, luckily. But people were certainly writing each other and encouraging them to write for the publication and having correspondence about it. So we were getting contributions like that. The money thing was interesting. We mentioned it here because at the beginning there was no charge.
None at all.
None.
No membership dues per se.
Not at all. And we encouraged, I forget where it said this, but it was in there somewhere very early, to people to make voluntary contributions of, 25 cents or $1 or something just for postage. And sometimes it was more than that, and sometimes it was less than that, and it wasn't everybody, but it was a good number of people. I remember getting a $20 bill from somebody and falling over backwards. Nope, there was not that kind of money.
Right.
And that worked okay for a while. we never lost money on it. And I never put in any of my money. It was really interesting, not even a nickel.
That's pretty amazing that it could self-sustain.
It really did.
When did you go into an actual membership format?
Well, it was...
where they actually had to pay something to
yeah,
receive...
I don't remember exactly. Probably early 70s maybe, or late 60s.
I recall some of the, I don't know, I guess mid-60s era when they were construction paper stapled together.
Oh, yes.
And I'm assuming those were all hand-typed.
Yes, there's no computers.
And were you doing all of that as well?
I was doing...
Or a majority of it?
Yes. We didn't have a secretary for a long time. I didn't have one in Rochester. And when he came here, we had a lady, McKell, right? And then we had Beverly, who's came here for 20 years. She was terrific. And they did all the typing of correspondence. Well, not, but before that, I did. And when it came time to retyping an article, which happens sometimes, I did that for a while, and then luckily they did all of it.
On those early issues, were there people contributing articles and information then? Or was it mostly your writings and gathering of other people's information?
Well, it was all Dean's stuff, and then it was Dean's and my stuff, and then it was my stuff. But in terms of writing articles, there weren't articles in it for quite a while. And it seemed like we were basically a wants and disposals list and a projects list, and maybe a membership list with addresses, maybe. I'd have to look and see.
But early on was more of information sharing.
Oh, yes.
With other members and
right.
people that were interested.
And then one day, I think after Dean had left it, looking at the list that I've just described, it seemed as if that some of the pieces of the list were basically about publications, and some were basically about engines, and some were basically about wanting things and about making things. Then it seemed like these were really sections of a publication. And then somewhere in there, I think it was number 30, 32 somewhere, I got some stuff together and blocked it in a little bit. So you had a museum section, and you had I can't remember exactly how that worked, but they began to take shape because of what people had been sending me. And fairly early, people began to write articles. They'd done research themselves, or they thought about their own experiences, or their own fathers, or whatever. But a good deal of it was opinion. It wasn't just, it was 6 inches, no, it was 8 inches. A little of that goes a long way. And it seemed like people were interested in having other people listen to what they themselves felt and thought about different things, which was, I thought, was very exciting. And I've always liked to see that and do that and encourage that to happen.
Yeah, I think that's always been a part of that magazine. There's always a little philosophical aspect to some of the articles, which is nice. Were there people that were building reproduction airplanes back in the '61? I know, we all think of course, our association with the Aerodrome, we always think of Cole Palin as building reproduction airplanes, but who were some of the earlier ones that you may or may not recall that were actually building World War I airplanes or flying original stuff, which was still a little more available then?
Well, looking at this list of memory names, which is a nice list of people that were very helpful, I don't see more than 2 who I remember as building very early, and one was Peter Bowers, and one was Jack Bruce, and maybe he didn't, maybe he was just collecting things. And there were others, because we were supplying information and parts and whatnot to people who were actually doing it in '61.
Ed Brennan was an
Ed
early
Brennan,
one.
yes, he
right?
was.
With the Fokker D7.
In fact, that was the first one, the first scale reproduction World War I airplane, I think, anywhere, and he built it. And then
he was the first to invert a Ranger.
Yes,
too, I think. right?
Yes, and we sold, you have it now, the directions for doing that. Seemed like a really, really good thing to do. But that airplane is now, who is the guy who bought?
Well, Brian Coughlin ended
Yes.
up with it.
Yeah. And that was in a magazine, I remember, in a magazine store in Rochester, and I came across it by accident. There was just a picture of this airplane. It was a Fokker D7, and where it came from and how it got to be there, I had to read it and see, and my God, the guy had built it. I didn't know that.
And when would that have been, roughly?
Well, we got to Rochester in 57, so it'd be late 50s, getting to early 60s.
Do you think that would have been your first discovery to realize that, hey, there's people
Well,
that are out there doing
it was
things?
very early. It might very well have been the first one. Yeah.
Well, the question everybody always gets asked whenever they're interviewed about their passion and what was the most satisfying part, would you say it's the correspondence, and even though you never met everybody face to face, friends that you dealt with for years and years, I would assume.
Yeah, I think that really is the truth of it. And I'd always been interested in getting mail from a long time ago when I was little on another subject. But this stuff with all these people writing in this way, with this kind of attitude, really made the thing come to life. And so the mailman was a big day, a big time every day, and still is, even though the mail isn't like that anymore. It's really nice.
Right.
The other thing that I really liked about it, and also about building the airplane, was that at the end of the day, you had something physical to look at. You'd made something. You'd written something. Whatever it was on the table. It was not the way it was in the morning. And I remember putting the piece of the tail skid and the rudder bar of the Scout on the mantelpiece after I built them. They were the first pieces I made, and they were just up there. Nobody knew what they were, but there they were. And it was, it was the beginning. And it wasn't just a plan or an idea. There it was.
Paul Hare and Jack Bruce, those are two names that I remember seeing for years and years. What was
Let me see the list.
What was Paul's initial association with you?
Well, I think he was a subscriber. He read it. And then he wrote some articles, including the one like the one he's doing now, about the contest, the British military things. And the one that we published quite a while ago was on a series that we call Scandals, because I got interested in the fact that so much of the aviation business in this country and in the world was corrupt, that people were being dishonest and hiding things and not telling the truth about this piece and that piece. And so he was going to do a series of articles on scandals in England. And one of them, the first one, which we published, was on Graham White, who had been involved in he had a production line of some kind of trainer, I don't remember which it was, sort of like a Jenny. And he bought wood for it, and it was not the right kind of wood. And either the people he bought it from didn't tell, or he used it and didn't tell the military. So the airplanes were defective, not wickedly, but they just didn't last very long. And it made a tremendous stink. It was a little bit like the newspaper guy in England.
Oh, Mr. Murdoch.
Doing some dishonest things, and it spreads out into the world around him. And so he wrote that, and he wrote other things, and he was a regular correspondent and very helpful as the magazine got in trouble, later on. And Bob Mikesh was the curator of the Air and Space Museum, and I met him and made a point of going to see him down there, and we went and had dinner with him a couple of times. Really, really good, long-time subscriber, and he wrote some things for us. Peter Gross, it turns out I went to school with him, didn't know that, and he's the son of the painter, George Gross. And you see his stuff around, and he came to this country. He was an anti-Nazi enthusiast, George was, and of course Peter was. And I went to Germany just once with Peter to work in the French museum there, and in the German museum, Museum für Verkehr und Technik, traffic and technology, to look at their collection of photographs. There were a lot of photographs of early French airplanes, and I wanted to use some of them in the book. And so I spent a lot of time doing that, and Peter and I wandered around in Germany. It was a whole new thing for me. And he wrote, obviously, some things in the magazine. We had lunch together in New York once, and he offered to do a thing called Archive, which was a section that came up fairly often a long time ago. And the idea was it would have information in it that most people wouldn't have any access to. So there was one on designs of German exhaust systems, and other things out of his personal records, all of which went back to that museum when he died. And we printed some of them. And I can't remember where Archive began as a series, but we ran it for several sets of issues. Josh I met through visiting the museum, and he was on our board for a while.
Josh,
very good guy. And Hal Andrews was on our board too, wasn't he? That sounds,
yes.
I think so, a long time ago. Very, very good guy. And Herb Kelly was a sweetheart, and he does these drawings. Every now and then you get involved with somebody who gets involved with some row about whose program this is, whose product this is, who gets the credit for this, who are you going to tell about this. And Herb was absolutely wide open. I'm doing research, and it's as much for you as it is for you, as it is for me. Just out there. And he wrote very well about it, and really meant it. He was a sweetheart. And Wally Batter was in Canada, and was a model maker, and wrote some articles for us on model making and some of the techniques. And he did a couple of model issues. We felt we'd try to have a model issue a year. The early publications come out 5 times. I don't know why, it just happened to be that way. And it seemed like a good idea if 1 of 5 issues was basically models. And one of them was number 84, I think, and I don't remember the other one. It was after that. And he put it together. It had other things too, but it was basically models. And very skillful stuff. And he got sick and died. And Dean Obrecht died. And Cecil Lewis I never met, but we had some nice correspondence over that cover picture in the front cockpit of something or other taken close up in flight. And he said, well, I certainly always knew I had a big nose, but... Anyhow. And Cole I met, I don't know how I got to meet him. I guess I read about the museum somewhere, and maybe I called him and came up or something, and he was outdoors doing something. We always had a nice time. I always wished that we could do more together, that we could advertise for him, or not necessarily for money, but to give information about what the show was going to be or what the airplanes were. And I never got very much. And I finally went to Dave Fox, who lived up in Kingston somewhere, up there, and he put together a whole issue or a whole file of all the airplanes that Cole had or ever had and where they came from and so forth. It was a nice collection.
I recall that issue became the Bible over there for many years. I remember Rita referring to that all the time.
Yeah.
He had listed all the airplanes and information about them.
Yeah.
It's like pulling teeth to get it, though, wasn't it?
It certainly was. But then I found him, and he was easy to get it from.
Yeah.
It was nice. And Coleman Meyerhofer, he actually came here and visited once with the albatrosses. He's an artist, he's a sculptor. Anyhow, so those are...
How about Andy Anderson? He seemed to be...
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, he's not here. Should be. Yes, he is. He drew covers early in the game. Not... they were drawings. Always line drawings. And beautifully done. Sometimes cut away, so you had some sense of the structure. And in the background there'd be clouds or trees or something, so it wasn't exactly just an engineering drawing. And I visited him a couple of times, and we talked about what he might draw. And
Did he take suggestions from you
Yeah.
on the subjects, or?
Yeah, mostly he picked them, and we agreed on the things. But speaking of suggestions, there was also Keith Woodcock, who did a lot of the covers. Well, that's one right there, the
Pole
Pole.
triplane.
And I don't know how I got to him in the first place, but he liked the idea of doing paintings of airplanes that hadn't flown, like that one. And there was an Antoinette that hadn't flown, and some other things. And so he did a whole series of them, 4 or 5.
Good, spectacular.
Isn't that nice?
I think you're pleased with the job that Jonathan's doing.
Oh, very pleased.
Yeah.
Very pleased. Yeah, with all of you. I mean, actually, I don't know anybody there now except you and Sean and Peter. And I've talked with Jonathan several times. Always good to talk to, and that seems very promising. And I like talking with him about those things and about other things too. Really nice. I would love it if you could get to print again somehow, and I understand all the problems, but people do comment on that quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And there's got to be some way of having something that you can have your hand in.
Well, we do offer that
I know.
print option. It's very expensive, but you know, for the people who really need to
Sure.
have a print issue, they at least have the option.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere down the road, a more affordable way might come along, and we do have the digital files that can always be
Sure.
converted to print somehow. So, you know, at least as long as we continue to produce the issues, there'll always be a way to print them.
Well, the whole
Just
thing
not
about
in
print
quantity.
is in trouble
Yeah, right.
in the world.
I think we're kind of lucky that we sort of moved with the times. And,
Yes.
you know, I give Jonathan a lot of credit for that, and Jim Bruton, who's on the board. And
I'd like to meet him sometime.
yes, yeah, I definitely will. I'll have him come and visit you, or maybe you could come. Maybe
Sure.
come with me. We could go visit his new hangar that has 2 triplanes in it now, so, in Connecticut.
2 triplanes. That's 6 wings.
That's 6 wings, and he built all the wings, and his friend built the fuselages.
Yeah.
So
Well, with all the electronic signaling equipment, I don't see the print has going to have a future at all.
right.
And Kindle has print in theory, but in fact it's not paper print. You can't fold it. And the book dealers and the book publishers and magazine and newspaper people, they're all in trouble. And I think you get, in a way, the best of both worlds, because most of the members are old, looking for print, but they're enthusiastic enough to go for the computer as well, and there are a lot of young people, or some young people anyway, who want it too. And so you're sort of both.
Mm-hmm.
But as we all die out, it's going to be more and more of one and less of the other, I'm afraid.
Hello, I'm Sean Tavares. I'm the president of the board of directors of WWI Aeroplanes Incorporated. I'd like to take a few moments to express some thanks on this beautiful September afternoon as we take a little time out from touring the collection of the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome Museum. We are approaching the 50th anniversary of the founding of WWI Aero in 1961, and the wonderful archive of materials, plans, and drawings and journals that have been produced over the years I really attribute to the generosity of so many people who contributed their time and their talent to this effort. And of course I would like to mention a special word of acknowledgement and thanks to our founder Leo Updike, who started the publications and the archive and sustained the effort throughout the years, and has left enthusiasts of early aircraft and the history, all the history connected with them, with something truly wonderful to work with. So thank you very much.
Hello to Leo from Beverly and all the little biplanes. Thank you for creating an outstanding airplane journal and nurturing an airplane community.
Hi Leo, this is Bill King here and wishing you the best of luck for all your activities and thanking you very much for the 50 years that you put in with the World War I Aero organization.
Congratulations on 50 years of World War I Aero. You're my favorite publication. Hopefully you'll have 50 more. Thanks a lot, Leo. Appreciate it.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for 50 years of World War I Aero and Skyways. Great publications. Really enjoy them. Thank you.
Congratulations to World War I Aero and Skyways for 50 years of a very informative and enjoyable publication.
Leo, I just want to say congratulations on 50 years supporting all of us aviation enthusiasts, builders, and painters. I appreciate you publishing my stuff in your magazine. Congratulations, my friend. I hope I can see you soon.
Hi, Leo. Russell Smith here. Congratulations on 50 years of World War I Aero. Thank you for everything you've done for the World War I aviation community, and here's to many years to come.
Hi, I'm Joe Holland. I'm the treasurer of the League of World War I Aviation Historians, and we're here on a beautiful July 10th, 2011 at the Golden Age Air Museum. And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish, on behalf of the League of World War I Aviation Historians, happy 50th anniversary for World War I Aero, Inc. It's been a glorious and wonderful 50 years. We're so thankful, and we're looking forward to another 50 years. All take care. Good luck.
Congratulations on 50 years, Leo, of World War I Aero, the best aviation magazine out there. Thank you very much.
This is Bob Pearson. I would like to wish World War I Aero a happy 50th anniversary. I'd also like to say I was very honored to be asked to do the illustration of Leo's Scout as World War I Aero opened up so many avenues for me, be it meeting publishers or other enthusiasts, ordering books, etc. Well, once again, happy 50th.
My name's Achim Engels. I'm the head of the Fokker Nuts Schondorf, Germany. These days we celebrate the 50th anniversary of one of the most important magazines and aviation organizations in my life, which is World War I Aero. When I joined up in 1989, I was still very young at the age of 17, and I did not know which way to go at that time. And it was Leonard Updike and his ongoing encouragement that showed me my way. And here we are, 22 years later now, and all I have left to say is thank you, Leonard Updike, for a wonderful aviation magazine and organization, and thank you, World War I Aero. Happy anniversary.
Well, congratulations, Leo, on 50 years of World War I Aero. And I, among many people, thank you for all the time and effort you put into that. It's really a superb journal and unique in its perspective, and your colorful opinions always mixed in, along with the high quality of the research and writing that you've attracted. And again, thank you very much for also getting to be a friend. So thanks a lot.
Congratulations on 50 years of World War I Aero. It's a great publication. I have every single one from when it was the first newsletter that was sent out by Leo and Dean Obrecht. And I cherish them all. They're great. I always look forward to them. And I certainly couldn't have done what I've done in this hobby without Leo and the people who are taking it over now doing such a great job. Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate Leo Updike for 50 years of this incredible journal. Beginning it was just amazing to stick with it all those years. And I have a journal, an issue here from 1974, which was actually sent to me, and that's when I originally joined. So I guess I'm early bird of that one. But I think it's just incredible that this journal's lasted for 50 years, not just with Leo getting off the ground, but all the hundreds of people who've contributed to it over the years. The guys who built the airplanes, reported on them, the people who wrote the stories. It's just incredible, the human level, the involvement of this. And when you look at this journal on the shelf, and if anybody's got a good solid run of it, and it takes up a lot of shelf space, but altogether it's more than that. It's really incredible archive. I think anybody researching World War I aviation or historians in the future looking back on this subject will realize this is really one of the best archives of early aviation in the world. And just have 50 solid years and so much incredible research that's gone into it, reporting. And I think when I was little and I first subscribed to it, I guess as a teenager, just seeing that people were still interested in early aviation and actually building aeroplanes, and it just really was like mind-blowing that so long after World War I and the early years of flight that it's still with us, it's still alive, and people are still active in it. And I think just reading about it in World War I Aero might have even helped influence my career choice to some extent, realizing that people could do such things. And I just hope it goes on for a long time, and just we all owe a real debt of gratitude to Leo for the perseverance to get this off the ground and to keep it going, and the fact that it's still going on after all these years is just a tribute not just to him but to everybody who helped out in any way possible, the editing, the writing, the research, the builders, and all together everybody contributed to this incredible archive that I think is going to be around for many years to come.
Hello, Leo. Congratulations on 50 wonderful years of great fun and learning for all of us. We've all had such a great time. Here's my issue from May '65, the Antique Airplane Association World War I Club, from Leo Updike, number 14. And we have every one since then. You and I have shared so many great projects and friendships and contacts all around the world all these years. Congratulations. It's something that'll be treasured by all of us for many years, and I'm sure by future generations, because you've recorded the history of where all these planes came from, who had them, how many times they were changed. It's not recorded anywhere else. Congratulations, and thank you for your friendship, and many happy years more, we hope. Bye.
Hello. Happy 5th anniversary for the magazine, and especially for the people behind it. I hope that for many, many years they can carry on. And a special thank you to Leo Updike for running it for so many years on such a high level. And it's not a small part this magazine played in the development of what you see behind and left and right from me. And for this I say thank you again, and all the best for all the people involved in producing it. And I hope that at least on a small part I can participate and give some information and some help if it's necessary or required. Thanks again. Bye.
Big one.
You're on.
We're on. Congratulations. Congratulations to Leo Updike of World War I Airplanes on 50 years of contributing to pioneer World War I aviation. Right?
I agree. Leo, thank you. There are people in the world that matter, and you're one of the best, and you're one who really does. For all of us who are interested in the pioneer, the very early age aircraft, this plane wouldn't have flown without the assistance you gave us with the drawings and plans and also the advice. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much. Congratulations, Leo.
Hope the tradition continues.
Yes.
Well wishes to the 50th anniversary of World War I Aero, and especially to Leo, the founder of the organization. From the Military Aviation Museum in Virginia Beach, Virginia, come to visit us and see all these wonderful airplanes from the Great War flying. And when you've had enough of them, then come back again to see the World War II airplanes.
He's
that magnificent man who likes flying machines. After 50 great years, Leo's still looking keen.
Hello, Leo. It's Dan Taylor with congrats on half a century of success. From early issues on mimeograph paper to today's polished covers, inside was a wealth of incredible info. Now, maybe there's no more sawdust on the floor in your workshop, but you kept us enthused, informed, and connected long before the internet. Congrats, Leo, from me, Dan Taylor, and my best to you and Sandy.
Leo Updike's the man. 50 years we've been fans. One magnificent man for our flying machines.
I'd just like to wish World War I Aero a happy 50th anniversary. Congratulations on a great publication. And of course, a big thank you to Leo Updike for really spearheading it for so many, many years and bringing an awful lot of people together all around the world that all have the same interests in early aviation. So thanks, Leo, and thanks to World War I Aero, and here's to a great future.
Hey, Kermit Weeks here at Fantasy of Flight, where we strive to light that spark within. I would like to congratulate World War I Aero for 50 years of preserving the great legacy of early flight. And thank you, Leo, for getting the ball rolling so early on. Your passion inspires us all.
Wow. Hello, Leo. 50 years. I just want you to know that 50 years ago, I was still in high school. Barely, but I was still in high school. I've been reading World War I Aeroplanes pretty religiously for at least 30 of those 50 years. And I want to thank you for what you've contributed to the community, for what you've taught all of us, and for encouraging the community to move in the right direction, which is toward putting things in an historical context. I'm talking to you from the Early Flight Gallery, which, as you know, I did about a quarter of a century ago. And I'm standing in front of one of my favorite airplanes, and I know one of your favorite airplanes, the Blériot 11. So, Leo, from Tom, lots of luck. Another good 50 years. Bye-bye.
Congratulations to Leo Updike for all these years he's put into really good magazines that we all like to look at and drool over the things we see in the pictures. And you've done a real good job and helped a lot of people. Thank you.
Hi, Leo. Although we've never met, I started reading World War I Aero when I was a kid, and all your hard work has inspired me to build a Jenny. So thanks for everything you've done.
Congratulations to Leo Updike and all the members of World War I Aero for a great 50 years.
Hi, Leo. Bill Hammond talking to you from Middle Georgia. Congratulations on 50 years with World War I Aero. I've enjoyed your friendship and enjoyed your magazines and enjoyed the Bristol, too. Have a good day now.
World War I Aero, congratulations on 50 years. Way to go.
The founding of World War I Aero was really an important piece of the direction that my career took. It really was an important aspect of my interest in aviation, and now that I've been here for almost 30 years, I can really point to that as a key piece that led me to this really satisfying career where I've been able to do all kinds of exciting things and work with so many incredible airplanes and meet with so many people. And I've also had the privilege of actually contributing to the journal over the years, writing a number of articles over my time here. So on the 50th anniversary of the founding of World War I Aero, I want to say a resounding thank you to Leo Updike and all those who contributed over the last half century. You really played an important role in setting me on my career, and I couldn't thank you more. Happy anniversary.
Hi, Leo. Congratulations on 50 years of World War I Aero. I became interested in that era in early 50s, and there really wasn't much information or documentation to be found. I'm very happy that you decided to take the time and the effort to give birth to this journal, and I hope the legacy lasts for many more years.
World War I Aero, 50 years of a great product and magazine. Good work. Congratulations.
Hi Leo, this is Chris Rogine. Thanks so much for inspiring so many thousands of people with your magazine. I remember back in 1979, Sarah and I were up at Owl's Head and then went to the aerodrome, and everybody was talking about your magazine. So I gave you a call, and you graciously invited us over, and you showed me a Bristol Scout, and I was once again inspired, and I bought my first issue of World War I Aero. Here it is, number 74. Still have it, and still enjoy it. And then years later, back in 2001, I gave you a call for some reason, some silly, crazy idea I had about building another plane. And we're talking on the phone, and you said, "Chris, did it pop?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I'm trying to think, what popped? What popped? And then you said, "Did it pop? The engine when you propped it?" And I said, "I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, Leo." And you said, "Well, you're on the cover of World War I Aero." I said, "Whoa, you're kidding me." "Yeah, you and Dan." I said, "Wow, that's fantastic. That's better than being on the cover of Rolling Stone," if you know that song. And I still have that issue. And here's that issue, and I am very proud of being on the cover, and I appreciate that so much. I really do. So enjoy, Leo. I appreciate it. Tom's doing a great job with it. And thanks again. I'm still inspired. Bought a Newport 11 Graham Lee project. Almost complete. So the dream is still alive, and thank you very much, Leo. To you, sir.
Mr. Updike, my name is Robert Carr, and I just want to say thank you. 50 years of World War I Aero, and I've been absorbing World War I Aero for several of those decades, and it has added much enjoyment to my life. Thank you.
Congratulations to everyone involved, and most especially the board of World War I Aeroplanes. 50 years and more than 200 issues. Leo certainly left quite a remarkable legacy.
Hi Leo, John Gartner here with Blue Swallow Aircraft in Earlysville, Virginia. I just want to congratulate you on 50 years of producing World War I Aero, fantastic magazine that has encouraged many of us to do what we dream about, building World War I airplanes. So thank you and good luck. Hi Leo, John Gartner here with Blue Swallow Aircraft in Earlysville, Virginia. I just want to say congratulations on the 50th anniversary of World War I Aero. You've done an amazing job, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much and good luck.
Howdy Leo, this is Bob Dempster with the Seattle World Cruiser Project. Our heartfelt thanks and congratulations for your 50th anniversary.
Hi Leo, I just wanted to say thanks for 50 years of World War I Aero and Skyways. Great magazines. I've enjoyed them all these years, and I've enjoyed your friendship all these years, and it's been a pleasure to know you. Thank you very much.
Leo, over the years you've brought us so many articles, drawings, and amazing information about monoplanes, biplanes, backwards biplanes, triplanes, even nonoplanes. But along the way, you've always made us consider about why it's important to study these things. Happy anniversary.
Leo, thanks for your help throughout all the years. You've been a guiding light for all of us. You've taught us all there is to know about World War I aviation and how to build airplanes, and been an influence on countless people involved in this. But about art, we still got a lot to learn.
Hi, Leo. I want to congratulate you not only on 50 years of World War I Aero, a terrific accomplishment in and of itself, but I want to congratulate you on being that person that provided the space and the place for those of us that are interested in World War I Aero, World War I aviation, early aviation, to talk, to share ideas, to argue, to laugh and enjoy the stories. You have been that person that has given us the content, to give us that time and space to do these things. And so it's not only just 50 years of World War I Aero, but it's also the camaraderie that you have promoted throughout the years. I can say personally that my dad and I had many wonderful conversations, as did with my brother. And of course, the boys at Old Rhinebeck and the guys on the board of World War I Aero now. I hope that you look back over your years of service in this regard and stand very justifiably proud of all that you've accomplished. You've been a great friend. You've been a great resource. I thank you for everything you do, and I count myself blessed to have known you and to be able to carry on the tradition of World War I Aero as a board member. Thanks for everything, Leo. It's great.
Hi Leo, Mikael Karlsson, Sweden here. We've been in contact a couple of times over the year. Never met, but I would like to thank you for what you've been doing with the World War I Aero, what you started and what you achieved with it. It's been a great inspiration over the years when I was, or still, building my World War I airplanes, so thank you very much and good luck.
Hi Leo, just wanted to send you greetings from New Zealand. The last 50 years of World War I Aero has been incredibly inspirational. It's the same age as I am, in actual fact. And it's done a huge amount to inspire my interest in First World War aviation and in the construction of reproduction aircraft. So here's to another 50 years, and thank you very, very much for your incredible contribution to our hobby. Thank you.
Leo is a very creative thinker, and I know it's true because when you get through debating with Leo, not only does he beat you, but he gives you a new idea.
I've always enjoyed the fact that Leo made the magazine very personal. You got Leo on the telephone, who called up, and if you got a letter, it was from Leo, and that built a very loyal and friendly readership.
Well, World War I Airway and Skyways has been an interesting venture for me. Bev, who was working for Leo, had asked me to do their mailing list over 20 years ago. And as a result of that, going back to my father's hobby of building model airplanes, it was a nice venture to get into. And Leo was a great person to work with. Leo and I used to go beyond just doing some work for him for the magazine. We'd get into a lot of discussions on education, English, and things like that. So I'm glad to see that the magazine has lasted for 50 years. And congratulations to Leo for the hard work and the heart that he put into it to make the magazines what they are.
I'm here to say happy 50th to World War I Aeroplanes, Inc. And thank you very much to Leo Updike for bringing so many people from around the world together who share this common interest in early aviation history. Thanks a lot, Leo.
Hi, I'm Mike DiGiacomo, here from Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome Museum. Just wishing World War I Airplanes a happy 50th anniversary. Congratulations.
This is the evil Black Baron of Old Rhinebeck. Whatever museum president Michael DiGiacomo says, I'm for sure the opposite. He says happy birthday, I say sad birthday. He says congratulations, I say the opposite of congratulations. No congratulations. And good riddance.
Well, here's my good friend Leo Updike from World War I Aero. Good to see you again, Leo.
You too, Dick.
What are you up to?
And this is Bruce Vandermark.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Good to see you.
What are you guys up to this morning?
Oh, we're shooting millions.
Great, great.
We're enthusing people about early airplanes.
Oh, that's... And you're not too far from home either.
Like you. Just down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad to see that Proctor's at it again.
Oh yeah, they're busy making airplanes and they're doing great. New owners, you know, Gary Parker and Joe Topper.
Yep, that's what we hear.
And so it's going good. Good to see you again, Leo. Well, here he is, guys. Leo Updike, World War I Aero magazine. Leo, what do you think of the last 3 days here? Or 2 days?
2 days. We only got here yesterday.
Is that right? Everything going good for you?
It's absolutely marvelous. I get to match names to faces and airplanes to names and airplanes to faces.
It's certainly nice to meet you.
It's terrific.
And you got your family with you, is that it?
Yeah, we had 7 or 8 children here yesterday. One left.
Great.
My father-in-law, my wife, Sandy, without whom these people, nothing would happen.
That's the way it goes, isn't it? Well, how's the journal going?
Very well. We're selling them. People are subscribing all the time. People are sending in stuff. I'm always amazed to see how much stuff I don't know. I'm trying to persuade people to send things. Did you know that there was a couple of Junkers CL1s being built?
Oh boy, that's news to me.
News to me. We'll tell you more about it when I find out.
Nice talk.
Can we talk about the Bristol Scout a little bit? Because that's there's not very many people that have ever built an airplane, let alone built a World War I airplane, let alone with an original engine, and flown it.
Yeah.
And
No,
there's very, very few. When did you get the idea that maybe I should build an airplane? Would that be the same time you were beginning the publication as well, or?
Oh, earlier. Well, I remember when I was a little kid, I got lengths of bamboo that rug had been wrapped in or something, a couple of pieces, and laid them out on the floor this way, and taken pieces of fabric that left over from something my mother had done and laid them down on top of them and sat in it like this. And I must have been 8 or 9 or 10 or something. I wasn't exactly building it.
Well, it was the beginning of an idea to build one.
It's where that story came from, actually. The flight stories in magazine, and I'd always liked the Bristol fighter, and I thought when I was in Rochester that maybe I could organize that, and I got original drawings from Bristol, enough to build it from probably. You have more of them now, but it was enough to start with. It's a big airplane, and one of the questions was the engine. And I wasn't going to get a Rolls Royce, but at the airport in Rochester they had a shop selling surplus military equipment, or new, I guess. What do they call them? Supply houses. But you could buy helmets, or you could buy rifle butts, or different things, whatever you wanted in a military kind of a way. And they had a huge, wasn't a Ranger. It was built for the Bell XP-77, a little tiny Pursuit with a huge nose on it. Mm-hmm. What would that be?
You got me on that one.
Not a Hisso.
Referring to my books.
Yeah. Anyway, and they had one. It was new, and it was up on a big shelf like this. It went from here to about where you were, and up to the ceiling. And I looked at it and said, "This is the engine that I would have to get, or something like it." It wasn't very expensive. And it was new. I mean, it was a marvelous thing. And the idea of having it in the house or moving it around was too much. And so I gave up on that. And so I thought I'd go for the other Bristol instead. So I swapped my drawings, or at least I said, I want to do this instead. And they sent me some more. So I got drawings for this and went with it.
And so when would that have been, when you started actually cutting wood?
that would be in Rochester, 50, 60, maybe 60, 62.
So you fit right in one of the early builders then.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the project was moved with you when you came to
Here.
Poughkeepsie.
That's right.
And was it built all at your house? In your garage?
Yeah. Basement. And for a long time it sat on wheels, just the fuselage, down by the table that I built to build the rest of it on. It stood up. It's still up that picture. It's like
Way up there.
It's like this one, yeah. Without the engine, without the cowling and all. And had bicycle wheels, because I didn't have any real wheels for it. And it sat down there, and I would sit up in it sometimes. It was very exciting. And people would come to see me, to see the airplane, to see World War I Aero and so forth. It was nice. And everybody that came, including people who knew about airplanes and people who didn't know about airplanes, they asked the same question, all but one. Literally, all but one. What do you think the question was?
Are you going to fly it?
No. That would be the second one. In the basement.
How are you going to get out of the basement?
That's the question.
Very good.
Everybody. And here was a real World War I airplane, and man. And the exception was a little girl who was about 10, and she was the daughter of somebody or other. And she looked at it and she said, "What's it like, or what's it going to be like, looking around and seeing all these pieces you made holding you up?" Stunning.
What a great question.
Marvelous question. And when I got to fly it, I felt that. I mean, what do I feel? This is an amazing feeling. After a while, it wasn't a wing anymore. It was a part of the whole thing. But out there for a while, it was a wing, and I remember that wing. And it was that little girl who asked the question. Everybody else was worried about getting it out the door. I hadn't planned that. I'm going to take down the wall of the house. Anyhow.
Well, it's a great accomplishment to build an airplane and then to actually fly it. It's a wonderful thing. And I think as being the editor of World War I Aero, it, added to the reputation you've had is, not only does he write about it, but the guy actually knows. He actually built one, which is, you can't say that about everybody, myself included.
And Bill Hammond took all the pictures. He was very helpful. I had to weigh it to get a license or something, and it was here at the aerodrome. And we got several sets of bathroom scales and set it up and weighed it, so much at the tail and so much at the wheels, and you add it all together. I don't quite see why you add it all together, different parts of the airplane, but anyway. And then he helped with the rigging. He wanted wash in and wash out a little bit, so we rigged that in there. It was
I recall it fondly because that was just when I was starting at the aerodrome. I thought, gee, who was this guy?
Yeah.
Brought this brand new World War I airplane out here, and now he's going to fly it. And it was exciting. And you talked a little bit about the Lerone engine. Can you tell us again that story of where that came from? Because those are becoming more and more rare, obviously.
Yeah.
But
well, it came from. I think I said to you. I think it was Peter Bowers. I got it from. I think, and he told me that there was an Air Force base in Ohio, which had a bunch of them. They used them during the war, and there was been a flood, and they've been damaged, and some of them, I guess, were new and had been damaged. And he sold me this one for $500. It was taken apart in a barrel, and for a long time the barrel was still in the basement, getting rusty. And it came home, and I thought I'd put it together. And then I thought that since this piece and this piece didn't quite fit, I didn't want to pound them. I didn't know how to adjust them. So I got a guy, you probably remember Tom, in New Jersey. He was
I know who you mean.
Mechanic.
The Magneto guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, it happens to all of us.
Yeah. Anyway, he put it together, and we came back up here. We put it on the airplane, and took it out in the backyard and in the garage next door, next to the garage. Tied the airplane to a tree so it wouldn't move. Had a big propeller on it, and he spun it, and he was really angry because it took 2 tries to get it going, having been taken out of a barrel.
And you were sitting in the cockpit?
I was sitting in the cockpit. 2 tries, and he was so angry. He was disappointed.
It must have been a thrill when it fired off.
Ran just fine. Neighbors were curious too.
I'm sure they were. Did your wife ever question you on building the airplane and spending $500 on an engine?
You know, Tom, you put on that list of names you gave me, people who are, well, the list, at the first name, top of the list, is my wife. And that was very thoughtful of you. She's always been supportive and joyful, and never said I shouldn't or never questioned any of it, really. She asked good questions a lot, and we talked about a lot of things, but there was never any problem with it.
Can you talk a little bit about the book that you wrote, which we all think is a fascinating one? When did that idea come along, the concept of the early French airplanes?
Well, I'd always been kind of interested in them, but the ones that we all know, like that one over there. That's the Blériot, isn't it? Yeah.
The one that everybody knows.
Yeah. And maybe there was something in the magazine that would have benefited from some other pictures, or I wish I'd known some more about this or something. So I got involved with the French editor of Le Fanatique de l'Aviation. Now it's called Le Fana. I can't remember his name. And so we agreed that we'd write it together. And we would each send us, we'd do a lot of research, and we'd send a draft of the section we were doing and look at it and then send it back. And that worked out very well until it got into pictures. And how do we do pictures? Because I had no access to pictures, and he had the Musée de l'Air. And somehow we got into a terrible row over it. It was really unpleasant. And so I gave up, or he quit, or I quit him. And so I worked to the Musée de l'Air by myself, and that worked out very well. But it was really exciting to see a whole new sense of those airplanes and where they all came from. And if it hadn't been for the Wrights, it would have been the French. And they were even more imaginative and creative than we were, like your Givaudan with the big round wings. It was lovely to read about them and to see them in the museum. It's a great place to go. We saw the Blériot, the original Blériot, in the Musée de Technique. It was like Verkehr Technique, except it was in French. And they usually had her hanging, but this time they had her down and they were repairing her or something. Did I tell you this? And they had it mounted. It was on a table up against the wall, and the wings were here and the fuselage was there. We could just come in. So I touched it. And it was very badly built. I was amazed. Things didn't fit very well.
This is the one that crossed the channel.
Yeah, the actual one. Maybe it was the seawater that did it, but I was surprised. But it was like touching a real thing in a museum. You're not supposed to touch them.
Right. Not
only so you won't hurt them, but they don't want you to get that feeling, get you excited by it. Anyhow, that was fun. I don't think I'll write a book again right away.
That, I'm assuming, was a long-term project.
Yeah, that took quite a while.
A very intense book.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's been another one like it before or since.
Well, it's interesting because Schiffer had planned to do a series of them, and there is one other in England, and I can't remember the name of the people. I have it. It's very much like mine. It came out afterwards, and the guy who wrote the pieces on the Wrights for World War I Aero, Smith, maybe. He started one on American airplanes before the Great War. And the last I heard, there were 2,000 of them. It's more than anything. And I've never heard about it since or seen anything about it since. But they really had a plan to do early pre-war airplanes of different countries using this model, which is a good model. And
I agree.
So they did too. I think that's all. I still get payments from Schiffer once a year. I think I got $23 this year. Always questions. One of the things that I've come to feel about in the teaching business is there's just got to be more questions and fewer answers. That the answer is a way of controlling what happens next more than helping the situation. With your answer you can make things happen. With a question you can make things happen too, but it's a different kind of thing. You learn things that way. You open up possibilities which the answer doesn't. The answer is, that's it. Now go. The question is, well, what do you think? Supposing it did. Wow, I never thought of that. And I'll tell you the story of the duck in the bar. Duck went into the bar and said, have you got a banana? And the bartender said, no, it's a bar. I don't have bananas. Now go home. So the duck went home. Next night he came back and he said, have you got a banana? The bartender said, no. Get the hell out. I told you last night. If you come back again, I'll nail your flat feet to the floor. Duck came back the next night. Have you got any nails? The bartender said, no. Duck said, good. Have you got a banana?
Very nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
Questions. Always questions.
Always questions.
Yep.
Get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them